I joined the Marine Corps. Couldn't wait to get out of Rochester. And on October 23rd, 1983, I was stationed in Beirut, Lebanon. Some of you might remember this. Some of you are too young to even remember it. You know, the war on terror, terrorism, and terrorists didn't start on September 11th. It started on October 23rd, 1983, when Marines were stationed as peacekeepers in Beirut, Lebanon, outside the Beirut airport. Very similar to what we're seeing unfolding here in Kabul. These 13 kids, when I got the news last week, it felt exactly the way the bomb felt when it went through my body. It blew a hole through my soul 13 times. There's 13 families here that will never forget the sound of 39 car doors slamming in their driveway as those Marines and the chaplain knocked on the door. They already knew what happened. On August 29th, 1983, there was a Marine from Henrietta, New York. He lived right over here. His name was Alexander Ortega. He was a staff sergeant, KIA, Beirut, Lebanon, August 29th, 1983, along with his lieutenant, Second Lieutenant Losi. Now, I know you don't remember their names. I know you don't remember that day, and I wouldn't expect you to. These families will never forget August 26th, because who they were on August 25th was also KIA on August 26th, because they'll never be the same again. As a 21-year-old Marine Corporal who just happened to be lucky enough to be 80 yards away in a tent from where Hezbollah drove that truck bomb into the Marine barracks in Beirut, Lebanon, if it wasn't for a grove of cedar trees that absorbed the brunt of that blast, I wouldn't be here, along with a few hundred other Marines. And if it was any other day, all of us would have been in that building. If it wasn't a Sunday, we all would have been in that building and lost even more Marines. Now, I don't expect you to remember that time and that date, but you need to understand history. And this war that we're in, called terrorism, terror and terrorists, it's multifaceted now. Back then, in 83, it was a tiny city, a tiny country in the world map, Beirut, Lebanon. Most people don't even remember it. But I remember it every day, multiple times, day in, day out. The triggers are infinite. When I get behind a car that's a Kia, it says KIA, I think of Killed in Action. And I think of these kids. And I think of my 241 brothers from so many years ago. There's only 13 other people that I know, based on my faith, that made a difference in this world. That's Jesus and the 12 apostles, 13 of them, who made a difference that still stands today. These 13 kids is a heck of a squad to be welcomed into the next plane of service, the next plane of living. The only justification that I can think of is that God himself handpicked these 13 outstanding, beautiful men and women to escort the 168 people, Afghani people, that were killed on that day. So you didn't hear about them either. So terror, terrorism, and terrorists, how do we fight it? Should it all be up to the Marines, the Army, the Navy, the Air Force? No, not anymore. No, No, because we've all taken that for granted. It's not just their job, it's all of our jobs. And part of that is for all of us to get on the same page. And the page is, it's light. It's what's right. Doesn't matter what your political affiliation is. I don't even care what your religion is. It doesn't matter. You have to be on the same light of what's right and what's just. And the most powerful weapon I can tell you as a Marine in your arsenal is your faith. Your faith in each other, your faith in your family, your faith in your friends back home, and your faith in that higher power, whoever that is. And if my faith offends you, that's okay. I think of myself as someone who's sensitive to your feelings, okay? So I respect that and I appreciate that. But I know firsthand that we all have to be on the same page. Back to Lebanon, and I think of the 3 weeks after the devastation of the bombing, of picking up the Marines, identifying the Marines and pieces of Marines, for weeks, for almost a month before we left, we were on that scene. Those images are forever embedded in my brain. Why I share that with you? Because of this. It's 38 years later. It's as painful and it's as raw and it's as hurtful as this is today. Now I have 13 more holes in my heart and in my soul. But I'm going to tell you that after all that death and destruction, I carried around this one little book. It's called God Calling, and it was just a daily reflection of something to look at. And on one of the final days of being in Lebanon, after 3 weeks of living, breathing, and eating death and destruction, these words were given to me by the Almighty Himself. And this is what I would like for you to leave here with today. Because if I can find faith after all that, and after all this, you can too. But we got to do it together. This is what God told me that day. He said, help and peace and joy are here. Your courage will be rewarded. As painful as this time is, you will one day see this was not a cruel test, rather tender preparation for the work you are to do for me. It's easy for us to come here and do a memorial and remember them. But you have to do something proactive and different to fight terror, terrorism, and terrorists. It's just hate. It's pure evil is what it is. That's what it is. 20 years ago, cops and firefighters were heroes because they ran into buildings. 6, 7 years ago, you shot them for doing their jobs down in Webster. Last year, you wanted to defund them and kill them for doing their jobs. Hey, they're people just like you and me. It's not about... You call all of us racist because we don't do this, we don't do that. We're all one race, human. It is one color in the Marine Corps. It's green. And on this day last week, it was blood red. And we all have the same color. So if you can leave anything with here at all today that I can give you from my 241 brothers and now these 13 kids who just joined the ranks of those. Fight terror with prayer. Fight it with good deeds. Fight it with something that's right and just. Nobody cares what your political affiliation is. Fight and stand for what's right and what's just. And remind people. These kids weren't heroes because they died. They were heroes when they signed up.
Amen.
Right.
They were heroes when they signed up because they had the courage to be part of something that was bigger than our puny little selves. So, our motto for the Beirut vets was always remember the peacekeepers. We got 13 brand new ones right here, and we'll take them in. We got room for them. and the rest of us when the time comes. You can kill their bodies and you can kill my body. But you will never kill their spirit. Never. You will never kill their spirit. Those Marines go on and they live forever. Semper Fi. God bless you.
Bye. Bye.